Hey, Matt.
What's up, man?
How are you?
I'm good.
Matt, how did you find coffee?
Yeah, so it was a real, I guess, kind of happenstance and like necessity type thing. So honestly, I didn't drink coffee at all until college.
Yep.
And
I feel like that's so many people's story.
oh yeah. And there were a lot of late nights. I went to JUCO, did not have coffee there. And then I went to MC here in Jackson and was trying to like do my best studying there. And we had these like points cards and I had to get up really early to go to class and was just struggling really hard. I was not a morning person at that point. And I found out that caffeine really did help with my classes. And so they had one of those campus Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that if I used the points on my card, I could get a small drip coffee there every morning before class without paying for it. And so I just like...
You went straight into drip coffee.
Yeah. Grinned and bared it,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is what we need. And so that's when I started drinking coffee. And it was purely out of necessity. And anything else during the day was... I loved Monster energy drinks.
Yeah.
But I, especially as a college student, could not afford Monster energy drinks. So that's how I got into coffee. Specialty coffee, though, it was another like inadvertent type of thing. So I moved to North Carolina to do graduate school at Southeastern Seminary.
Yep.
And thought I wanted maybe to like go into the ministry or something, but really wasn't even that. It was like I just really liked learning. And honestly, the culture that kind of live in is you just go to school and until you can't anymore almost,
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so it was like, okay, the next thing, I guess,
if
when
you're
I was
not into medicine, which medicine is a great thing to go into if you just want to go to school until you can't anymore.
And so I had already, I was in a business program at MC and called my dad and was like, hey, I'm dropping out of this and going to do psychology. And he begged me not to because he was a therapist for like 15 years. And I was like, no, just do business. But I knew that a business degree required calculus, and that was not my thing.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and did psychology. And so I had no prospects of career after college. And so then I decided that I would go to seminary, learn some stuff there, and just keep learning because I was interested in that. And about 6 months in, I realized, like, this is not where I need to be. Like, it was really enjoyable, but at that point, I was paying for school, and so...
I feel like that's always the trade-off.
Yeah.
It's like you might really enjoy this, but like if it's not going to turn into you making more money for some reason or another, it's really kind of tough. Tough to justify it.
Exactly. So there was a professor there at the seminary named Tracy McKenzie. And I had heard through the grapevine that he had a coffee roasting business. And in my mind, I thought like big scale type stuff. But he just started. And he'd been roasting at his house and was wanting to start a cafe roastery concept. And so I bugged him and got a meeting. I was like, hey, this sounds like such a cool thing. Can I be a part of it? And he was like, let's think about it. So then that's where that started. He's like, hey, we're going to start a little cafe roastery concept in Wake Forest and right outside of Raleigh. Would love for you to come and work with me on that. And so we did that for several years. And really,
so you did that full time?
Yeah, I did that full time over there, and I was the self-proclaimed, I guess, social media manager because you know, when you're that age, you're like, I need a title,
right?
And to feel good about myself, and so I was
you're young, and social media is a new thing.
Yeah,
the older guy doesn't understand.
If you could go back and see the things I posted, it's shameful.
Yeah,
it's so bad, and. So social media manager / cold brew production manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yeah. So those are the things that I did and really loved being there. That was also when nitro coffee was like just becoming a thing, and there was no equipment out there for it.
Yeah.
And so I worked with a local brewery guy, and we got like the sight glasses that they had and put a carbonation stone in it.
Wow.
And had coffee come in and then get carbonated or nitrogenated and then sent out the top. And it was in like a makeshift freezer that we turned the temperature up on, and
that's super
that kind of
cool.
thing. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was great. But that is when the specialty coffee journey started, where I was like, man, this is really great. That was also the first time that I had ever, it was actually at his house. I was there with he and his wife picking Quakers out of coffee that had just been roasted. And that at his house was the first time I actually smelled the difference between two different coffees. And it's like, hey, you're right. There is like a blueberry kind of thing coming out of this Ethiopian Conga, and it's very different from this Rwandan, and I can finally smell it after having handled these coffees for a while. So,
yeah, that's really cool.
It's really neat.
Yeah, I feel like my parents don't like coffee at all, and that's okay. But my wife and I just got back from a trip to Europe over the spring.
Yeah.
And we went to this place. It was in London. I believe it was called Special Guests.
Okay.
And we got this crazy like co-ferment something or another, like $45 bag of like 8 beans. But I got back and made it, and it tasted like bubble gum.
Wow.
Like actually tasted like bubble gum.
That's wild.
And I would get I took a glass over to my parents' house one day, and I got them to smell it, and they couldn't smell it at all. And it was like the craziest thing to me, because it is such a distinct flavor and smell, and they just couldn't get it at all. And it was just a funny thing to like have a sense of taste and smell developed for that kind of thing that other people can't tell.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was super
totally.
funny. But that was like one of the first times that I really had that like drastic comparison between like someone who doesn't care at all or like coffee and like me, who realizing I've actually developed enough of a palate to be able to taste that,
Yeah. We've had some conversation about that. I think that's one place that co-ferments really have their place, is that they can be a great entry point for people into coffee, to where it may take someone with a natural or washed or anaerobic or something like that a minute to kind of gauge a lot of experience with it, and a lot of times of like, okay, so this is what I'm discerning in this cup, but it's a little bit more attainable when you have a co-ferment for someone to go, oh yeah, they're like peach.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
And or man, there's like a cherry or red plum or whatever, lychee.
Yeah.
Might be.
It's fun.
Some really cool stuff.
So how do you end up back here? Well, I guess also explain before we come to Jackson, explain what this roastery becomes, because I think that's significant in coffee world in general.
Yeah. What Soapbox becomes?
No, but a roastery
you're
working for up in North Carolina.
What Back Alley did. So so we were called Back Alley Coffee. And the reason it was called that is Tracy would roast coffee on a little air popper in the back alley at the school and invite other professors to come and drink that coffee with him as they would roast. And so that's where the name came from. And as we began that journey down the road, it was at the same time that Kyle Ramage was practicing for the World Barista Championship that year in Seoul. And he would come to the shop and roast up some samples of the coffee that he was using, also get us to brew it, which was the most nerve-wracking experience ever of, hey, this is a, however expensive coffee that you really should not mess up.
Yeah.
And can you brew it for me? And doing that, it's like, oh, yeah, sure, we can. And so that's how the story kind of shifts at that point is we were very a very small part involved in that, with having a place for him to come use a loring roaster and roast on at a time. And Kyle's also from Mississippi, and so we, have some side conversation here and there. And there was another guy named Lim Butler who was with Counterculture at that point, and just an incredible guy. And I actually had reached out to him at that point of saying, hey, how can I do better as someone who's a lead on this team, and like getting our people maybe to a competition, or to start getting their feet wet and that kind of thing. How can we get better, really? He was a really great person to talk to in that. Well, behind the scenes, what was going on is that Kyle and Lim were going to team up together and purchase Back Alley and turn it into Black and White. And around the same time, I had come back to Mississippi for a wedding with like my best friend and his wife. And they introduced me to my wife at that point. And so right around the same time, it all just came together of, I really need to move back to Mississippi. Back Alley's turning into Black and White. And so I had an awesome opportunity to be there for just a little bit of time during that transition, and develop good relationships with them. And that I didn't know how important that was going to be until a few years down the road when we moved. I was back in Mississippi, and we had gotten married, and then a few years later decided we wanted to open up our own coffee shop.
What did you do in the meantime? Were you still in coffee?
No, I wasn't. So I had gotten out of it, and I moved back, and I actually worked for like a month when I got back here. I worked for like a coffee shop, popsicle shop, kind of place that actually was in the building that Native, our coffee shop, is.
What was that place called again?
It was called Deep South Pops.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for like a month, and then I left there to go work for my father-in-law. He had a business that was I was always really good at sales and loved talking to people. And so I went to go work for him. He had a sign business. They would make signs for different companies and install signs, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I worked in. And as much as I loved my father-in-law and loved working for him, I couldn't sit in a box for 10 hours a day. It was hard.
Yeah.
And so that's when I honestly just had like a crisis moment. I was like, Anna, I don't know what to do with my life. I've missed coffee, really enjoyed doing that. And but I can't be in like our office had one window, and we worked Tuesday through Friday and for 10 hours a day. And I was in there, and I would go in at dark, and at some certain points of the year, leave at dark. And so for me,
I relate to this more than you know.
I know. And so I was like, I've got to do something. And so my wife, being the incredible person that she is, sat down, and we wrote out strengths, weaknesses, things that we're passionate about, that we would like to do, and just kept coming back to Jackson really needed a coffee shop that had a real desire for quality hospitality and quality coffee.
Yeah.
Because there was a friend of ours was managing a shop that was in town that had great coffee. I really enjoyed it. They were a counterculture shop. It was a lot of fun. But the environment that they were in was more of like a food hall kind of place. And so it met like a really quality coffee need and stuff, but really the vision that we had was more of like a standalone kind of place. And so felt like, okay, so there is room for that. And then we felt like there could be room to like do service even better here. And so that's what we set out to do. That was in we started really trying to work towards that in 2019.
Perfect timing.
Little did we know how much our lives would change. So I quit my job in November of 2019, and told my father-in-law, see you later, sorry. And he was super gracious about it, but it's also hard, like, quitting on your father-in-law,
Yep.
And but my wife was still working part-time over there. We had one kid at that point. And me and...
Did you have like a pile of savings or anything?
Not really. I mean, we had some, but we got a loan and, set sail from there, I guess. And, but got together with Ben, who was my best friend that I'd come down and met my wife through he and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
We got him to come on board with us as well. And so now both of us are in the same boat, and that we're starting this new coffee shop with what we have no idea is coming on the horizon, which is COVID-19.
Yeah, in like only a couple months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we spend all of our Thanksgiving and Christmas break building out this shop ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so it was me and Ben every day, plus my father-in-law and brother-in-law would come and jump in, and my wife when she wasn't taking care of the kids, and sometimes when she was taking care of the kids, graciously would come and paint and build things, all of that. So we spent all of our Christmas and Thanksgiving break doing that. Came back. It's time to launch in February. And like, okay, let's get a little bit more training in. We went up to Black and White and trained up there, came back. And by the time we got back and got all of our inspections done, we went to schedule opening, and I get a call from my landlord, who's very plugged into the community, and said, "Hey, Matt, just so you know, everything is about to shut down. I want you to be prepared for it." And that could not have been the scariest. Like, there's nothing more scary than that, honestly. It's like, okay, everything I have is invested into this, and we can't open. So that happened. But like the story is just incredible from there. So we were able to, we had a restaurant license, even though we just make homemade biscuits there.
Yeah.
And so we were able to stay open with I can't even remember what they called it at this point, but like necessary.
Yeah. Like you're feeding the community.
Yeah.
So
that,
you're
that
a
kind of stuff.
business thing or whatever.
Yeah. So we got to come to work, which was awesome because our lives didn't change. We just came to the shop and hung out and made coffee for the few people that came and parked out front. So we got Lowe's buckets, filled them with sand and signs that had numbers, and people would drive up and call in their order, and we would take it out like Sonic drive-in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we were doing like $300 or $400 a day.
Wow.
At that point, on like good days.
Yeah.
Which doesn't pay anybody.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But things began to pick up after that. We were able to open up inside for a while. And
What, did you hire people, or was it still just you?
It was me, Ben, and another guy at first. Okay. Yeah. His name's Cameron, and his brother actually designed our first native logo, which was a flag. Mm-hmm. And he came and worked for us. Luckily, he had a videography company that he ran, so this was really kind of for fun.
Yeah.
But so it was, the few of us and just trying to get by.
Yeah, scary. So how do you make it through that?
Oh, man. The Lord was good to us, honestly, so much of it. So there was a point in time where it didn't matter how many people came through the door. The bills were just so big with rent. And what we thought, it was under 100 people coming in, but it felt like a ton at that point. And okay, so we got this and had payroll and rent, all that kind of stuff coming through. But there just wasn't enough business to go around at that point. And I remember going home one day, and just to be vulnerable, I sat on the couch to eat lunch after we had closed. My wife was at work and just cried. Yeah. And was like, "Lord, I don't know. This isn't going to work. I've ruined my family and we're done because I have $3,000 in the bank and I can either pay rent or I can pay payroll." So was definitely going to pay payroll and then just ask for forgiveness,
Yeah.
Well, literally that day, right after I prayed that, I kid you not, my landlord called and said, hey, y'all have been really good about paying rent, and I can write this off with the government through some payroll protection stuff that was going around, and so the next 3 months are on us.
Wow.
And so I was able to make rent, which was nothing at that point.
That's crazy.
And also pay people, which was great. And so I didn't take a paycheck for forever.
Yeah.
But I was really glad my wife was working at that point, because that floated us by. And then us not having to pay rent for 3 months helped to, fill the bank back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
how we made it through. And then the people in Jackson who really believed in us came every day and gave us business. And then
I came a lot that summer.
Yeah.
I was home for that summer because it was COVID and there was nothing to do.
So
I came a lot and sat and read books.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
You
did what I could.
You paid Ben's paycheck. So
I did what I could.
There you go. Yeah. But I remember some advice that I got from a guy who's still a daily regular today. Before we even opened the doors, he said, look, Matt, if you can be consistent, well, really what he said was there's an equation. Consistency plus time equals success. If you can be consistent over time for a very long time, that's what will make you successful.
Yeah.
Just do really good stuff and don't stop, basically.
What gave you the confidence that you could do this?
Probably stupidity, but no, I think a big thing was just like, hey, who doesn't want to have a place where they go and they feel at home and can have a really good coffee? Like, who doesn't want to go sit down in a place where it's warm and inviting, and to steal the Cheers reference, everybody knows your name, and you can go in and sit and have a really good cup of coffee, and you're not having to sacrifice one or the other. And so it just seemed like a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't that work?
Yeah.
And I know that there's plenty of cases where that hasn't worked, but I guess it was just naivety of saying, like, why wouldn't that work, and just doing it.
Yeah. What made you do a food program? Because I feel like that's not very common for coffee shops. Maybe it's becoming more, but
so the reason that we did the food program was, and we don't have a big food program at all. All of our pastries are done by an incredible guy and a team over at Just Vanilla, and Guillermo does an incredible job, and Tessa and the whole team there, just incredible folks, and make awesome pastries. And so we do what we do best, which is make coffee. And we outsource the pastries to the best people in town who did that, and that's them. But we make our own biscuits in-house. And the reason being isn't because we're like, man, we really have to have a food program, which it does help. Like, we sell a lot of biscuits. But the big thing goes back to kind of how we were talking earlier about why we named the company Soapbox. That's our roasting program. And what we want people to feel with Native, with this like visceral reaction of feeling belonging and like warmth and nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. I remember some of the best memories that I have growing up were going to, and every Southern person knows this, but you can get the best food at gas stations.
Yep.
And so whether it was like, we didn't hunt terribly much growing up, and I was not good at it. But I would go with my dad, and we would go to a gas station in the morning before a hunt and grab a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Or when I finally was able to drive and go to high school, I would stop by a gas station that was at the front of the neighborhood and grab a biscuit from there. And they were the best. It was just like old people there making biscuits like they've done their whole life.
Yeah.
And so that's what we wanted. The Native shop is an old gas station. So it was Dixon's service station back in the day. Elvis Presley stopped there.
No way.
All the big windows are where the bays were. It was just an old gas station. I thought, what better way to like have a small food program than what I loved growing up, which was gas station biscuits. My wife's had the same experience too. Ben, he's had the same experience growing up in Boonville, Mississippi. And anybody who's been in the South knows that great biscuits are found at a gas station.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's where we started the food program. And that's all we do. That's all we make is biscuits there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you look at other spaces before how did you find the space? Because I love that space. It's so cool.
Yeah. So
I just love all the exposed brick and
it's
like
fantastic.
It's just super cool.
I love that building. There's so much light there and a lot of character with the bricks. But as Anna and I were thinking through the coffee shop concept, it was okay. If we could, and I think this is kind of how you have to start with stuff, is if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And so at that point, it was, man, the best building here is actually the Deep South Pops building that I worked at for a month when I came here. Well, Ben came, he and his wife Lindsay over for dinner one night, and he came over and he was like, hey, just so you know, it looks like the Deep South Pops building might be available sometime soon. And it just so happened that I was also working on signs for Scott Overby, the guy who would become my landlord. And I was like, So I sent him an email the next day when I came in and said, hey, just by chance, if the Deep South Pops building comes up for sale, or for rent, not for sale, we did not buy it. But if it comes up for rent, could I be the first to know? And he said, yeah, sure. Actually, could y'all come in next week? And so Anna and I, we had already been in our off time working on a business plan. And so we were like, okay, cool. So we printed off the business plan, came to him and pitched the idea. And he said, yeah, it sounds great. So that November, it was like right after Thanksgiving, I think. We switched keys and they gave us the keys to the shop.
Super cool.
And we tore everything out and started rebuilding, having built like literally nothing ever.
Yeah.
But all the plumbing there under the bar has been done by me.
Wow.
And which plays another part into when we had the Jackson water crisis. I knew how the water was.
Yeah.
So I unhooked the plumbing and plugged up to these 5-gallon water jugs that you buy at like Walmart.
Yeah.
And
I actually remember coming in during that time, but I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah. So
and
we were
I saw
the
someone
only place
behind
with
the bar
clean water.
Moving jugs of water. I was like, I thought I would be plumbed straight in, but that's okay. I don't know. Maybe
that's how we did it.
Just,
all the water was messed up and it wasn't clean. You couldn't drink it, had to boil. And you can't run a coffee shop that way.
No.
Coffee, like espresso machines, coffee brewers don't get hot enough to kill the bacteria, no matter what people say. And there were plenty of shops that were running it straight.
Yikes.
But with ethics, like you can't do that. I wouldn't serve somebody bad water.
Yeah.
So we came up with an idea, like any entrepreneur does. You go, okay, so here's a problem. How can I fix it? And so we got these little catering pumps. And I do have to say, there's another coffee roaster in town called Bean Fruit. And the guy there was super generous to let me borrow their pump for a while. And that kept us in business when everybody else closed. And so we hooked it up, ran it into all of our machines, and just were pumping water from jugs into
I feel like
you've
water crisis plus COVID. You've been through some like insane obstacles to keep this business going.
It's been nuts. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, we've been broken into 4 times.
Sheesh.
And so that's another part of it. But it, like every single bit of it, just like when you're surprised by something, it makes like the normal business things not as surprising. And which to say, we have not been broken into in 2 years now.
Okay.
So that has been great. The things are a lot safer now, and that's awesome. But yeah, when the crazy stuff happens, honestly, it's kind of a blessing. The normal things that might be a big deal to you as a business owner aren't as big of a deal because you've been through crazier things.
Yeah. What's your headspace like when something like that's going on?
Yeah.
Like with water crisis, for example.
At first, it is just, well, one, the best thing for me, because as someone who, I'm the big picture guy, like that's how my brain works. And in our marriage, I'm like the big dreamer, and my wife has to go, okay, so are you talking about things that you really want to do, or just like big dreams? Because there's a million things all the time. But she's much more of like the logical person, and so is Ben. And so I've been paired up with them, for years. And that's always really helped, where something will happen. I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? We don't have water. And they help me chill out and get in the right headspace to go, okay, so we don't have water. How can we have water? What's the answer? Because there's always an answer to something. You can't just like close the doors and not be open.
Yeah.
Especially if you're broke and you have to pay your employees. Like, there was no way. I was going to drive somewhere and get water and bring it back if I had to. And so we found a way. And like that, I think that's the headspace, is like when you just have to do it, you do it. You figure out a way. There's another guy in town who was invaluable during this time, Stephen O'Neill, who owns Manship down the road. It's a great restaurant, and he has been in the military, and I would call him, be like, dude, what am I going to do with this? And his catchphrase was, embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck, man. Just do it. Embrace it. Get over it. Just run your business. And so that was our mantra there for a while. It's just, hey guys, embrace the suck. Just do it,
Yeah. Did you think growing up that you would own your own business?
Not in the early days, I guess. I really liked business. I guess I didn't know what it was when I was a kid, because my mom was involved in ministry stuff and my dad was a therapist, and so there wasn't like entrepreneur stuff going on. Really, my dad had some little businesses that he ran here and there when I was little, but I didn't really see that as much. But like I had my first sale that I ever made was, I had a go-kart. It was awesome. It was blue and red and white Thunder Kart, and it was great. And I would take it out, wash it, do all kinds of stuff to it. And then one day, it kind of broke down. I couldn't fix it anymore. And so I sold it to this older guy who drove by, and it was just a frame, really. The engine was bad. So we bartered, and he talked me down on the price, and I sold it to him for $150, I remember. And that was a ton of money to me. And so that was my first sale. But then when I was in high school, we had a senior project in order to graduate. And so a friend of mine and I created our senior project, which was biodiesel. And so a really cool senior project.
Yeah, super cool.
We took the grease from our high school, and he was the chemist brain, I was the entrepreneur brain, I guess. And so we had to form a company, and we called it Green Bean Gasoline, and made like logos, a whole business plan, everything, and then made a product. So we actually made biodiesel.
Wow.
From the grease at the school. I still to this day have no idea if it worked or not. No one would let us, use it in a car or tractor or anything. So, but it was fun. We had a great time. I got to work with the Community Development Foundation in Tupelo, and had a mentor there who walked me through business plan writing and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of where it started, was this would be a cool thing to do, is like have a business one day. I don't know what kind. Yeah. And at that point, I didn't drink coffee either,
Yeah.
It's full on Monster Energy.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you think, did your wife, I guess your wife grew up with dad owning his own business, so did she kind of come from that background a bit?
Yeah, so that was a lot more comfortable for her. And I think that's where some of the confidence stuff comes in. It's like, hey, dad ran a business for like 38 years. And there were hard times, and he worked a lot at times and just had to tough it out. And so, like, you can do it.
Yeah.
So, she definitely has much more of an even keel than I do. Can be much more emotional with stuff. And she's definitely solid. Yeah. So, she was a big encouragement. I was like, hey, everybody, has hard times, and you just push through it. I've seen my dad do it, and so with his business, why can't we?
Did you ever think about taking over your father-in-law's business?
Yeah, so that's part of what made leaving a bit difficult.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law and I both worked there.
Yeah.
And he ran all of the installation jobs and the cranes, all that kind of stuff. And it was a pretty big operation. And I was gearing up to take over sales once another guy who was senior to me would retire. So that was initially the plan. But then after working there for several years, I just didn't see myself being in that kind of, and it was uber successful business. It was great. And he made an incredible product, and I had such respect and admiration for what he did. But it was one of those things in the end, just I didn't want to make signs the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And he really enjoyed it because his background was art. He's an artist.
Huh.
And when he was coming through, they were just kind of learning like graphic arts and stuff on the computer and that kind of thing. And so he's like, man, if I want to make a living for my family, I can't be a painter.
Yeah.
I really need to work at computer design work. And so the best way to do that is to design signs, because everybody who has a business needs one.
Yep.
And that way I can work on my art and that kind of thing and have a business and take care of my family. So that's what he did. He's an incredible painter.
Yeah.
But he was a great sign guy too.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Take me to Roastery, because that's where we are now.
We are at the Roastery. So a little bit more to that story. When we were deciding the business of Native,
Yeah.
at first we thought, let's roast coffee. But that also, as you think through logically how a business is run and customers, that kind of stuff, it's a lot harder to start a roastery and develop a client base than it is to develop a client base and then start a roastery. So,
I think most of the time that's the order of operations of most coffee shops is they start the shop first and then the roastery.
Yeah, typically. Exactly. And so that's how we thought it would probably work best for us. Plus, that gave more and more time to just get better at coffee. And
so your background is roasting. Was it Back Alley? Is that what?
Back Alley. And I actually didn't roast it all there.
Oh, okay.
I just brewed coffee there.
Okay. Was there a shop?
Yeah, so we had, the place was really interesting. It was an old telecommunications center. And so the back half of it was our roasting location. The whole space was maybe 1,400 square feet. Okay. Maybe. And that's where we had this Loring roaster that was back there. It was beautiful, big roaster. And Tracy roasted everything. Okay. And so I was just part of what I was really passionate about was how do we take that coffee and then display it the best up front. At the first year, we only did pour-overs in the shop. That was it. And then we did espresso later on. And we're just very much a small, essentially like a showcase shop almost, where we made drinks for everybody, but we really wanted to display the coffee that we had and grow from there. So that was my background there. Actually, I would watch him roast some, and then some of my best friends up there roasted with him and kind of learned. And but I actually never roasted up there. I wish I had. Yeah. But
so now you do roast.
Now I do roast. So when we came back, we're in business for a little bit. I bought an Aleo Bullet and had it at the house. Actually, before that, we had the guys at Black and White ship down the sample roaster that we had at Back Alley, which was a tiny 1 pound sample roaster. Worked on it for a bit, really difficult. Just kind of gave up on that for a minute. And then got this Aleo, started working on it, and we're like, it doesn't really make sense to become really good on a small home roasting machine and learn and then get a commercial machine and have to completely learn again. Yeah. So what we really wanted to do and the heart behind it is we love roasting coffee. We love being able to get incredible coffees in and stuff, but there's also just a business aspect of things that if we want to take care of our people better, we have to have more money coming in to the business. And so a way to establish another stream of revenue and to increase profit margins within the company is to roast yourself. But the caveat to that is we started with the best of black and white. And so how do you start with people, like sourcing your coffee from people like that to making it yourself? And that was a really hard balance of, okay, how do we transition in? And so we decided at one point, our goal for this next year is to start the roasting business. We have 1 year to do it. And so we gathered our families up and went to Texas. Ben and I trained under some awesome people at Roaster headquarters in Dallas and looked at a machine there, and then moved from there over to Houston and learned under the folks over at Roastronics and learned how to roast on Stronghold and fell in love with the Stronghold roaster immediately. Started developing profiles. It was much easier learning how to roast coffee on a commercial machine, honestly.
Yeah.
And then we had incredible help. We had the people at Roastronics that were helping, Kyle at Black and White, who would give tons of advice, taste coffees, and give feedback. So for a year, we just worked on trying to figure that out. And then this past March, or the beginning of this past year, we had a slow, pop-up, I guess you would call it, for Soapbox. And then now we have fully taken over all of the espresso that we do. One single origin pour over that we have, our drip coffee, and nitro. We still have bags of black and white that are on the shelf, but we roast everything else that's served in-house other than a pour over that we have.
Yeah.
So
Super
it's been great, but yeah, we wanted to have another stream of income to be able to pay our staff better, to be able to make better wages ourselves. And so we're growing towards that. And, but another huge thing was there's really not a, trying to think of how to say this. There are few ways to just understand something even deeper than when you just try to master all of the, or at least know all of the aspects of what goes into something.
Yeah.
So we've become so much better acquainted with our coffees now that we roast them.
Yeah.
Now that we know where they came from, which we did know where they came from through Black and White, but there's a bit more intimate knowledge on that too, of like they get shipped to our doorstep and we know what the green coffee looks like, and have sampled this coffee and roasted it in a bunch of different ways to try to figure out profiles and that kind of thing. You're just much more acquainted with the product that you're serving, and I feel like that's a really cool thing.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
What's the dream with Soapbox?
Yeah, so Soapbox, it's kind of interesting with the name. People at first kind of associated stepping onto your soapbox, you've got something to say kind of deal, which is not at all what we are. So what we really, honestly, it goes back to the go-kart thing.
Yeah.
My favorite thing ever growing up was driving my go-kart. And I was just thinking one day of, man, the best things that I enjoy thinking back on are just nostalgic times. So what would be a great way to, I guess, make some sort of icon of that? What's something that doesn't mean something but can mean something, can mean a lot of different things? What's something that involves a lot of family stuff that's really valuable to us, that involves teamwork, working together, hard work, great memories, and could have really cool themes built around it. So we thought of the Soapbox car. And so Soapbox Derby is a huge thing around the country, not in Mississippi, really.
Yeah.
And so, which kind of makes it even better because there's not a lot to go on here about Soapbox Derby. and we just get to kind of build around that with our company.
I was going to say, I've never heard of it.
Things. Yeah. So it's a race where kids build these cars that are made out of wood and fiberglass, etc. And they race downhill. No engines, anything. They just race downhill, and whoever was most aerodynamic wins, basically. But you build it with family. You build it with oftentimes your dad or your uncle or mom or whoever it might be. And it's just classic Americana kind of stuff of just get your hands dirty, build something, and race it. And see who wins. It's great. Competition involved, all that kind of stuff. So it really embodied a lot of the values that we have of teamwork, family time, competition, working hard, and fun. Yeah. And so that's when we chose Soapbox. The vision for Soapbox is that we want to create really awesome coffees, or I guess even better, display really awesome coffees, because if they don't come from the farm awesome, then it's really hard for a roaster to change that. Yeah. So we have the opportunity to source some really amazing coffees and showcase those to our people. So that was a big thing, is if we're serving black and white, we don't want to step down and do coffee nobody wants to drink, right, just for the sake of doing our own coffee. So that's where it was so important and so kind of Kyle to come alongside of us. And then also a new friend and a guy from Canada, the Canadian cowboy, Ben Putt. And he came down and helped us out with some stuff. And there's just been all of this knowledge sharing that's allowed us to have a really good product. I wouldn't say black and white level, but yet maybe one day that would be incredible. Yeah. But a really, really good product, and thanks to those guys. Yeah. And so I feel really confident and really proud of it, and feel like it's something that's incredible. We're roasting really great coffees that we can provide to our community, to our friends, all the native people, and that our staff really enjoy. So yeah.
I think a common topic that typically comes up with coffee entrepreneurs is making money. Yeah. Because it's difficult to make money enough to live and sustain a family. Very. So one way that I find that I notice that people kind of combat that is opening up multiple locations and trying to build a franchise or something of that tune. Right. Have you thought about that much at all, or how do you wrestle with that kind of question? Because people get into coffee for the love of the game.
Oh yeah, coffee. For sure.
But eventually you hit the wall of I'm busting my tail. I want to make money.
Yeah, that's the hard one. Is you get into the business because you love it, and then realize economics are real. Yeah, and so that's why people have hobbies. Is because a lot
that's
of
what I do. I have the fellow espresso machine, and I have the whole setup at my house,
which is a great machine.
Yeah,
by the
it's
way.
Fantastic. Yeah, but that's my hobby.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. So we have wrestled with that, and I think any coffee shop owner knows that just about once a week, someone will come in and say, "Hey, you should open up here, in this place or that place or this place." And so we've battled that from the very beginning. I think the big thing, I know a lot of folks who have succeeded in having multiple locations, and they're among even more folks that have opened up multiple locations and haven't succeeded. And it's not the multiple locations part, it's the ethos behind it. And can you maintain what we said earlier of consistent quality across more than one location? That's the hard part. Can you replicate your culture is really what it is. And I feel like we have an incredible culture at Native, and people love working there. I love working there, and I would love to replicate that possibly someday. But also, we really want to continue to get better at our one shop and really work on it. And our focus now is, okay, so we could have another shop at some point, maybe, if everything worked out great. If we had the money for it, if there was a perfect location, if the timing was right, if we knew of people who wanted to work there, who we could really trust and would fit in with the culture that we're making, and really like replicate that. But our focus right now is how can we be the best coffee roasters that we can be? And I want to leave the hard work of opening up shops to other people and do the work of providing them with really good coffee so that their shops can succeed in that area. Yeah. And so we're wanting to grow in the wholesale aspect of our sales with Soapbox, which is really early on. Like right now, we've just been providing for our shop, and we have a new client in the Madison area just down the road, and then hopefully some more coming up soon. But we're really trying to like slow grow into that so that we don't get too big for our britches, you know, yeah. And but have like really strategic, sound growth, because it's hard going from roasting all the coffee for your shop and another to now adding another and having the capital to buy green coffee for that and store it and bags and labor and all those things. So like trying to do that wisely so that we can best serve the people that we're roasting coffee for. Yeah. And they're not, you know, relying on us and then having a subpar product or not having one at all. Like yeah. We ran out. Like, we want that to happen. Right. So that's where we're steadily trying to grow, is step by step. We have phases planned out of, we want to have this many shops and this many clients by this time that we're partnering with and roasting coffee for, and then try to scale up from there and scale up from there. Yeah. Kind of deal. Yeah.
Super cool. How do you, I think sometimes entrepreneurs can get caught up in the day-to-day of building their business so much that they kind of let the business dictate their life instead of them dictating how they build their business, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think a lot of times that's when people end up being like, quote, burnt out, or like don't like the business that they've built. Yeah. Yeah. Have you wrestled with that, or how do you combat that?
Yeah. I mean, there have been times, where honestly, there have been times where I have not wanted to work at Native. Early on, there was a period of time I was the only person coming in baking biscuits, and so my family goes to bed really late. And when we talk about really late, where it's like 11, 12 o'clock at night, yeah, and then I would have to be up at 3:30, and that happened for a long time. And after a while, I just was so tired of not having sleep, and that really clouded a lot of things. And so I was then able to, you start going, okay, so I can't be the only person who does something. I need to delegate. And so then I delegated to Ben, and then we had other people come along, and then I delegated to them. And so now there's a shared responsibility and all of that. So all of us get a little bit of sleep some days. And so there are other days where we get, a manageable amount of sleep, yeah, and can operate. But yeah, there have been plenty of times, like especially earlier on, and when you have slow seasons within coffee or within any business, and at that point you are evaluating, you're going, oh man, in this little time that I'm looking at, things are slow. What am I doing wrong? People decided they don't like our business anymore. Yeah. They've got to be going somewhere else. In fact, they're all on vacation. Right. And they do this every year. Yeah. And that's really what happened. But you always look and you're like, oh man, I've messed up. And we must not be making as great a product as we thought. And people have gone somewhere else. And so you have to wrestle with those things. The biggest thing, my wife has helped me out with this a lot too. I may be a big picture guy, but going back to it can kind of be emotional at times with certain things. I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs can be. Yep. When they're passion driven about things. And Anna will just be like, look, sit back, look at the big picture of stuff. Where were we at this time last year? And how have we grown from there? Where were we 2 months ago? And how have we grown from there? And then encouraging me of like, you can't make, and going back to what we talked about earlier with the Diary of CEO podcast guy, he was interviewing a guy, and you can't make business decisions about the day that you're in because it's going to be an emotional decision and oftentimes a wrong decision. Yeah. You really have to sit on things. You have to look at the grand picture and how growth has happened. Because, I mean, you may be discouraged because business is a little slow or something's happened within the business, employees, something's happened with, interpersonal conflict or whatever it might be that's going on that can cloud your judgment. But that doesn't mean that the business is bad. It means the day is bad. Yeah. And you have to push through it and can't make a decision based on a day or a week or a month. And really have to look at the trajectory of what is our vision and where are we going? Are we still on track to do that? Are things still working out that way? Have we strayed from what we originally intended to do? Is that why something is happening? Or is this purely just how the market responds to things? It's summertime and things are slow. Yeah. Or, it's in the complete opposite too. Hey, it's wintertime and this is the busiest time of year for us. Holidays are here. We're doing incredible. And you can even get cocky at that point. Like, man, we're running the best business there is. This is awesome. We have so many people coming through the door. We're so popular. And like, pat yourself on the back. And in those times, you have to be level-headed as well. So it goes both ways. People often talk about the discouragement of business, but you also have to, I think you can make just as equally bad decisions in the times where things are going really well. Yeah. That can be damaging to your business. It genuinely is that you have to look at what are our values, what is the vision for our company, and where are we wanting to be in, X amount of time, and are we on that trajectory? And if so, then we're doing well. Yeah. And if not, how can we correct? But I think those have to be the two questions that you ask is the big one, how can we correct if we're not? And just stay going. Yeah.
I have a friend who's he's moving out of ministry and moving into a professional business context. Yeah. And it's like a really cool and exciting opportunity that he has to kind of join like a small team and help build something. And we were talking about like how you discern what voices to let speak into your life. Yeah. Especially on the internet. I think there are a lot of people who give their opinions on business, and it's hard, especially as a believer, to kind of understand what of that is good advice and sound advice and truth, and what of that is like not. Right. Yeah. How do you discern what voices to listen to?
That is really hard, because there are so many voices that are trying to speak into things and tell you how you're measuring up or not measuring up, and where you ought to be, where you ought not to be. And I think in every single business, there are the people who are, you're not doing things right if this isn't happening type of thing. Honestly, it's so much of it is boiled down to, have I surrounded myself with a small group of people that I trust, who I know will tell me the truth, no matter if it hurts or not? Will they tell me the truth? And do I trust those people? And those are the people that I'm going to listen to and make decisions off of. And I have a small group of people like that, and they're very diverse, where you have people who are in all sorts of walks of life, and people who are involved in my spiritual growth, people who I know are very well versed in law, people who have been doing business for a really long time. That's one thing that's great in owning a coffee shop, is you meet people who you would have no contact with, more than likely, in any other way, in another profession, maybe. Unless they were part of like a social club you were at, or church, or whatever that might be, where you might cross paths that way. But yeah, I try. There are things that I can test. Go, okay, do I know that to be true? And then there are things that I may hear that cause me to doubt what we're doing, or if we've done a good job, if we're on the right track, and cause me to doubt, which sometimes those are really good. But I don't go like, oh, this made me feel bad about myself, let me discount it. Or this made me feel good about myself, which is a huge one. Let me just accept that because I feel great. But you have to take those things and test them with the people who are closest to you. The amount of times that I have had conversations with my wife, with Ben, with other people who are regulars at the shop, Joel and Joshua, who come in, who are great friends and have been there from day one, and I can just say, what do you think about this? Or my father-in-law, or my dad, or people in North Carolina that I can bounce stuff off of. It really is very specific to what's going on at that point that I know they have expertise in, or ways to speak into, and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this issue, and is that right? Is this a right feeling? Am I, like, they're the litmus test to stuff. Testing that against, what do I know about God's word being true? And because obviously that's the first test, because if, my doubts are on if I should do the right thing, and, whether it's financially or interpersonally with employees or whatever it might be, I know what's right and wrong based on what God has said in his word. But there are also things that are very much gray areas, or just not even talked about, where you go, okay, so obviously I've been surrounded by people who have wisdom, who aren't me. Let me go to them and ask, and then test that, like, what do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? And the people that I'm closest to, that I trust the most, are my sounding board. And if they say something is good, then and multiple of them agree upon that, then I'm going to take that, whether I like it or not. Or, these people are saying I should stay away from that or not do that. It's a bad idea, which has happened plenty of times. Man, I just don't. I think you're getting excited about this because, it's an exciting thing. But is it a really good business move? Or, for instance, everybody gets in these growing pains where you're like, golly, I know we need to make more money as a business. I want to pay people more. I want to make more. I want to redo the shop, whatever it might be. But that's going to require a lot of hard work, like starting a roastery. Hey, what if I bought trailers off of Facebook Marketplace and sanded them down, put new wood on there, and painted them? And then I could sell them for double what I bought. I literally have asked this question to some of the guys. And one of them, he goes, Matt, have you ever remodeled like a trailer before? No, I've not. Okay. So, do you think you would make more money for your business if you were to do something in your expertise? Or do you think you would make more? What do you think will pay off the greatest over the long term? You being a trailer, like,
flipper,
or roasting coffee, which you already know about coffee.
Yeah.
And this is just another skill set you could add to what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm like, okay, that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Of course. Should I be flipping trailers? Yes, I do. No, I should not. Yeah, that would definitely have been a better option.
Yeah.
But no. Oh yeah, that's happened. I feel like I can't be the only one who's done that.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I've looked on Facebook Marketplace and gone, I should be flipping trailers.
Yeah.
That would be some easy money.
Yeah.
I think that's where you have to have sounding boards. People like, do you think flipping trailers is a good idea? No, it's not.
I do that a little bit with cars, but my excuse is that I'm a car guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I get to have the cool old car in the meantime.
Yeah.
And then I make some money whenever I sell it.
Totally.
So that's my excuse. But yeah, I am guilty of that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, marketplace, people are just selling stuff for nothing.
Oh yeah,
and you can just buy them.
And
then,
like it would be an easy fix, right?
Yeah, totally. I think. Do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Yes.
He calls it the girl in the red dress.
Okay.
It's like this idea of like, oh well, this shiny new thing that sounds like a good idea that would work. You know, you could go do that, but the compounding effect of like actually putting that energy and money and time into your own business is way more valuable than pursuing some other like side hobby.
Exactly.
You know,
and I might make
money.
a quick buck for my family doing that, but guess who doesn't make money? The other people that work with me.
Yeah.
Like Ben doesn't get to work in a roastery and learn a new skill of roasting coffee and work with me every day.
Yeah.
I would be working on flipping a trailer at my house, and my wife would be ticked, you know. And then we wouldn't have coffee that we get to say we roasted ourselves and be proud of, you know.
Yeah.
And so absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're doing is really cool, Matt.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming here to our little roastery and taking time with me.
Yeah, I'm excited for what you guys are doing.
Thanks.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so obviously we're selling our coffee in Native Coffee here in Jackson, Mississippi. Not to be confused with the awesome Native Coffee in Dallas, Texas. And although we would be honored to be confused with them, and they do incredible stuff. But also there's a new coffee shop in Madison County area, Livingston area, right in there. It's like where Livingston Mercantile is. And you can find our beans there at their shop as well. We're currently working on our Shopify website.
Cool.
We have people text and message us all the time on Instagram, like, hey, can you guys ship coffee to me? And yes, we can.
Sweet.
So we have the ability to ship the coffee. We just have not had the time to make a nice website.
Yeah.
And we're working on that. But between Ben and I, we have 6 kids.
That's a lot of kids.
And when we get done here, we go home and try to help our wives not lose their minds.
Yep.
So we're working on that and hope to have e-commerce up and then have a couple other wholesale accounts lined up that aren't just in Mississippi. So hopefully can have some stuff outside, but if anybody wants coffee, they can message us on Instagram and we'll ship it to them.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That was fun.
Dude, absolutely. That was a lot of fun.